Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome back to Meghan and Harry Tales, the channel where truth matters and the Sussex's journey is told with the depth and care it truly deserves. I'm Adrian, your host, and today's episode is an emotional, insightful and powerful one. Meghan Markle. Yes, the Duchess of Sussex has finally spoken openly about leaving behind her career in acting, her deep love for the craft, and how her public image has been twisted since she fell in love with Prince Harry. This conversation on the Aspire with Emma Grede podcast is one of her most vulnerable and honest interviews in recent memory. So buckle up, grab a cup of tea, and let's dive into the real story behind Meghan's Hollywood farewell, her royal reality, and what she truly wants the world to understand. Let's start where it all began: Meghan's life before royalty. Before Meghan Markle became a duchess, she was Rachel Zane, a smart, driven, fashion-forward paralegal on the hit legal drama Suits. Meghan spent 7 incredible years on the show from 2011 to 2018, building not just a career, but a family of creatives around her. When asked if she misses acting, Meghan's answer was refreshingly candid. Sometimes. And isn't that the most human thing to say? She didn't deliver a media-trained non-answer. She was real, honest, vulnerable. Meghan went on to say that while working on her new Netflix show with Love Meghan, she was reminded of how much she missed being on set. Not necessarily the fame, not the glamour, but the people, the crew, the community. Being back on set with Love Meghan was great because I realized how much I had missed my crew. I love being around a crew, she shared. For any of us who've ever worked in a tight-knit team, we know how that feels. The late nights, the laughter, the shared purpose. Meghan spent 7 years building those bonds, and then one day she had to walk away quietly, secretly, with no proper goodbyes. Imagine that. Meghan shared something heartbreaking in the podcast. Her exit from Suits was shrouded in secrecy. We couldn't say I was leaving necessarily, it was speculated. So, after 7 years on the series, we couldn't have a going-away party. I couldn't say my goodbyes, Meghan revealed. She was already involved with Prince Harry at the time, and because of the intense media scrutiny, everything had to be hidden. Think about that. Working with people every day for nearly a decade and not being able to even say goodbye properly. Emma Grede, the podcast host, was quick to sympathize. It must be hard to let that go, and Meghan agreed, simply stating, "Yeah, that was different." But it wasn't just different, it was sad, it was unfair. And it's a reflection of how Meghan's life began to shift dramatically the moment she stepped into the royal spotlight. And here's what makes this moment so moving. She didn't dwell on bitterness or regret. She used that opportunity to speak directly to her old crew members. You work with people for 7 years, that's a really strong connection. There's something incredibly noble in that, still choosing to honor the people she worked with, despite the world she was thrust into. But the podcast didn't just focus on nostalgia. Meghan also got real about how drastically her public image changed once she was no longer just an actress. Emma Grede gently asked her a powerful question. If you could rewrite your public narrative from scratch, is there anything that you would do differently? Meghan didn't hesitate. Yes, I would ask people to tell the truth. Boom. No hesitation, no evasiveness, just the truth. We don't need to speculate on what she meant. Anyone following Meghan's journey knows exactly what she was referencing: the tabloid lies, the press distortion, the attacks from so-called royal insiders, and the smear campaigns that followed her and Harry after stepping down as working royals in 2020. She has been misrepresented, maligned, and misunderstood. But instead of lashing out, she made one simple request: tell the truth. That in itself is an act of grace. Meghan's interview highlighted something we rarely talk about enough: the emotional toll of losing your own story. Before Harry, Meghan had her own identity. She was known as a successful actress, humanitarian and advocate. She was her own person. But once she became attached to the British monarchy, it was as if the world tried to rewrite her from scratch. Suddenly, she wasn't Meghan the actress or Meghan the philanthropist. She was Meghan, Duchess of Controversy, a title she never asked for. And it's important to remember, Meghan didn't quit acting for fame. She left it behind to build a life with someone she loved. That decision should have been celebrated, not weaponized. She made a sacrifice for her marriage, and instead of gratitude, she was met with hostility. Let that sink in. Let's talk about that transition from Hollywood to the royal spotlight. It wasn't as seamless or glamorous as the media would have us believe. In fact, Meghan's royal journey started with sacrifice. She had to give up her acting career, leave her dogs behind in Canada, move across the world and learn the complex, unspoken rules of a centuries-old institution. And yet she tried. She showed up. She smiled. She spoke with grace. She embraced her role. But we all know how that story unfolded. Instead of being welcomed, Meghan was scrutinized. Instead of being celebrated for her unique background, she was attacked for it. Every facial expression, every outfit, every gesture analyzed, criticized, distorted. It's no wonder she now says her public image became very different than who she really is. And now, years later, Meghan finally gets the chance to tell her story on her own terms. So, what's next for Meghan? Her new Netflix project, With Love, Meghan, is more than just a show, it's a reclamation. It's Meghan stepping back into the world of storytelling, but this time on her own terms. No tabloid spin, no palace press office, just her voice, her vision, her heart. When she said she loved being around the crew again, it wasn't just nostalgia, it was healing. She's going back to the version of herself she loved most before the chaos, before the headlines, before the noise, and she's doing it with love. This show is a powerful symbol. It's Meghan taking the narrative back, one frame at a time. We often hear the phrase, Meghan Markle is so polarizing. But is she really? Or have we simply been told a one-sided story for so long that we have forgotten to ask ourselves who she truly is? She's a daughter, a mother, a wife, a creator, an advocate, a woman of integrity. And in this podcast, she wasn't trying to prove herself. She wasn't trying to fight anyone. She was simply reflecting with wisdom, sadness, and strength. I would ask people to tell the truth. Those words are simple, but they're everything. As we close this episode, I want to leave you with this thought. Meghan Markle didn't lose herself. She paused, a part of herself, for love, for duty, for hope. And now she's finding her voice again, not as a duchess, not as a former royal, but as Meghan. This interview reminded us of her humanity, of the pain she endured, of the connections she lost, and of the truth she's still fighting for. So here's to truth. Here's to the crew who stood by her. Here's to the fans who believed in her. And here's to Meghan. May she continue to rise, to speak, to create, and to inspire. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more real, honest stories from Meghan and Harry Tales. I'm Adrian, and I'll see you next time. Until then, be kind, seek truth, and always, always lead with love.